Hello all, it is me, Insomniac Writer, and today, which is Friday the 13th, I am reviewing Friday the 13th. I am watching right now, currently, part 4 of the final chapter. It's one of my fave out of all the Jason movies. I've probably seen this one the most out of all of them. It has some scenes that are funny. I like the gore in this. I like a lot of different stuff. But tune in. And also, one other thing, as you can see from my festive shirt here, I am ready for today. So, yeah, the music is just. I'm about to kind of fast forward through the credits and just get to the bloody gore. But anyway, stay tuned.
3 times before, you have felt the terror, known the madness, lived the horror. But this is the one you've been screaming for. Friday the 13th, the final chapter. Jason is back. He moves like a shadow, dark and silent.
Sorry you changed your mind?
He never utters a word. He doesn't even seem to breathe.
Where the hell's the corkscrew?
He simply, mindlessly, mercilessly kills. But now, Jason's reign of terror is over. Friday the 13th, the final chapter. Jason's unlucky day.
Hey all, it is me, Insomniac Writer, and I have just finished tuning into Jason for Friday the 13th, the final chapter. And this is one of my faves because, first of all, you have this awesome film score. And yes, I'm just playing the score as I had to go back to the end credits because I just love the Jason score. I always thought it was pretty cool. It's just always intense. Like, if I'm somewhere and it's like a lot of leaves on the ground or it's kind of woodsy or whatever, like in the park or something, I like hear this tune in my head because there's something wrong with me. Anyway, Friday the 13th Part 4 was Paramount's attempt to end the series for once and for all. Like, it wasn't a secret that they didn't want to be in the horror slasher genre, whatever, but they wanted to end it. And I'm not sure why they changed the ending with Jason not getting decapitated by Tommy and his sister, but they did. So Paramount, yeah, you may fool everyone saying you wanted to end this series, but truth be told, how could you? You didn't end the character, you know, and then have the next movie maker try to figure out a way to bring the character back. They literally could have ended it with that, like decapitate the guy, because this wasn't zombie Jason. This was regular human, supernatural a little bit, getting back up after some blues Jason. But he wasn't like, zombie like yet. Anyway, part 4 is one of my faves. It's probably the best Jason movie ever. Only because, it just, the characters in the movie, the teenagers, the horny teens, counselors, whatever, they are, actually they're not counselors, but the teens, they aren't as like, they're kind of more memorable than most teens because part 3, I can't remember any of the teens unless I go back and watch it. And I would say part 6 and 7, I really don't remember any of the characters. Maybe 1 or 2. But for the most part, they're just transparent extras to me that just had some gruesome kills. If it wasn't for the way they died on screen, I probably wouldn't remember who the hell they are. But anyway, another thing that I love about this movie, which will always be my fave in infamy, is Crispin Glover dancing and having this convulsion, just, and it's just so funny because he starts he's like, really, come on, and then I don't give a shit what anybody says is that, oh, he was dancing to AC/DC. I don't care. Even if you play Back in Black and you play that scene, which I've done, he still looks like he's having a seizure. Anyway, it's just like one of the best scenes ever. Like, even if I don't ever watch this film, sometimes I'll just put it on just to watch that scene. Like, I can be in a shitty mood and watch that scene, and it just makes me feel better because I'm like, thank God I don't dance like that. And we all know Crispin Glover, aka Jimmy, did dance like that in a club. There's probably, I wish there was like YouTube back then because you could say, hey, or if he wasn't if he's still around, I wonder if he goes out and just does that dance. Like, it's just hilarious. But it's one of my favorite scenes. And of course, I like Corey Feldman. He's always been one of my favorite 80s actors. Not like in this whole, childhood crush, boy, hunk, whatever type, but because he's always just been a gifted kid actor in every movie that he's played in. And this was no different. And, this particular Jason gave us the Friday the 13th nemesis of Jason. Like, they gave him the protagonist that carried on for more than one part. Part 5, which there is no Jason at all. And then you got part 6, where he inadvertently brings Jason back trying to kill him for good. But whatever, I like Tommy Jarvis's character. He has a lot of, depth. Here's this normal kid, and then his life gets turned upside down by a psycho killer because, these things just happen. Another thing that I liked about this movie, besides the actors and Tommy and Corey and whatever, it's just one of my favorites. I pretty much love this movie. Like, I think I've watched this movie more times than I watched any other Friday the 13th movie. Like, even when it was on VHS, I just watched it over and over and over again. Even when I probably shouldn't, because there's a lot of nudity in this movie. Well, not a lot, but enough. Still, I don't know. But another thing I enjoyed about Friday the 13th Part 4, the guy that plays Jason did a pretty good job. Like, next to Kane Hodder, he's probably one of my faves, Ted White. Look him up. He's been in other movies, too. He's a pretty good actor. And he's like 90 now. He's really old, but still, he's alive and well, and he did a really good job. Like, it's Jason, and you walk around killing people, but it just very little differences between him and Kane Hodder. You could tell someone that's actually pretty into what they're doing. And he might say that the movie is shit now, but hey, it made him some money. That brings me to the director, Joseph Zito, who kind of hates the fact that he directed this film, and from what I heard was kind of an asshole. He made the one actress that dies in the water, I forget her name, maybe I should write these things down, but he made her stay in the water. It's nighttime and it's cold and she naked and she got to do this scene in this water. And you know what? When you watch the movie, the scene is only probably about 5 to 10 minutes long. It's not really a long scene for her to go and take off her clothes, get in the water, get in the raft, and then die. Like, you couldn't let her get on the shore with a damn jacket on or something, or a blanket, then go back out there. Come on, wow. But it just goes to show the dedication of people because, it is what it is. He even called Corey Feldman a brat. Like, that wasn't nice. Come on now. The kid is on scene. You got to try to shield him from things that are going on that he shouldn't be seeing. And it was just like, wow, why call my man a brat though? Anyway, I'm not going to dispel more about, Joseph Zito because he gave us one of the better Jason movies out of the entire film series, except for the first one, of course. It's a progenitor of all the Jason movies, but still, it's good to know that, he gave us a great film. With that being said, this being my fave, to count down all the movies, Next in line, I would say would be part 1, because again, it's the progenitor, it's the beginning of the Friday the 13th franchise. Part 6, because Tommy Jarvis comes back and he kills Jason, and it's just decent, and the kills are great. Then I will go down to part 7. Yeah, I said it. Come on now. Tina kicked ass. She had the mind telekinesis thing, man. Jason ain't know what was coming next. And then, I mean, you got Kane Hodder coming in the first time to play Jason for, I think out of all the Jason movies, he was the one that played Jason the most. He is Jason. Anyway, part 2, bringing in, the first time Jason goes on scene. Then part 3 is my next fave. Then part 8, Jason takes Manhattan, or as I like to call it, Jason takes the boat on the way to Manhattan. Then of course it's Freddy versus Jason, which technically isn't a Friday the 13th movie. In my mind, is more of a Freddy movie, even though Jason had more kills. It just didn't feel Jason-like. When have you ever known Jason to crash a party and just start hacking and slashing and dicing and stuff? That's not him. That's Freddy. Freddy likes to be in the open. Jason was always about lurking. It was always this first point POV, thing with Jason. It was never out there in the open. It just didn't feel Friday the 13th Camp Crystal Lake-ish. And I should know. I work there. Anyway, my next one in line would be the reboot, because it had Jared Padalecki, who plays Sam Winchester on Supernatural. And that's all I have to say about that. Anyway, then Jason 5, which does not include Jason. It's just Friday the 13th part 5. But it had Reggie. Reggie was awesome. He screamed a lot, but he was awesome. And then they had the guy, I forget his name, but Pretty Ricky, what they called him. If you ever watch Martin, you know what I'm talking about. Then there's Jason X. Jason is in space. Okay, about this movie. I know that Hollywood likes to keep creature features going. I know that they like to keep cash cows going. I know they like to just keep reanimating and just bringing back horror movies just because it's just easy to do. But let me tell you something. Anytime you send a character like Jason or Leprechaun or anybody to space, it's not a good idea. It doesn't work. I don't know why they think it's a good idea. Yes, we watch it. We spend our money to pay for it and see it, but it does not work. Stop doing it. Like, come on now. Pinhead's in space. Leprechaun's in space. Jason's in space. Everybody's going to space. It's not a good idea. Nobody wants to see a guy that's slashing people in the forest, slashing people in space. And even though they kind of brought him onto space in a kind of a good way, I think the only one that probably worked in space was maybe Pinhead. Maybe. Anyway, it's just dumb. Just don't stop. Hollywood, if you make any more iconic characters, or if you decide to put any slasher people in space, stop. Don't stop. Just stop doing it, please. Another one that I like is that, well, it's not what I like, but it's on my list after Jason X is Jason Goes to Hell. I like this movie because the actors around Jason were great. I mean, I do look at that type of thing. My problem was this whole Jason possessing people thing. Like, we already know Jason is supernatural, that Jason is like, not human per se anymore. But the essence of Jason, killing people, possessing people, and then there's a mystical dagger. Now, I know that the premise of this movie kind of pulled out of the comics a little bit, and it had something to do with the Necronomicon from, the Evil Dead and all this other stuff. I know this is what they were trying to do, because they were trying to do an Ashen versus Freddy or something like that. But no, stop it, because it just did not work for me. I mean, Kane Hodder was the only thing good about this movie as far as Jason was concerned, and he's in there all of 15 seconds. And then maybe 30 seconds at the end. Like, come on. And then you have Jason's mask getting dragged to hell by Freddy. And we already know that that was the setup for the Jason versus Freddy movie. But that movie still didn't come out for a whole other decade. Like, I was 13 or 12 or something when the Jason Goes to Hell movie came out. And I was in my 20s when the damn Freddy versus Jason came out. And like I said, maybe it was because they swapped Jason from Paramount and put it in the house that Freddie built, which was New Line Cinema. So it did not feel like a Jason movie. It felt detached. But all you had to do was just sit there and watch the movies or talk to anybody that were into the movie, you know, that happened to be in the movies. Jason stemmed from sitting around a campfire, telling scary movies, killing camp counselors afterwards. That's what it was. But none of those two movies didn't feel like that. But that's my opinion. Anyway, Jason 4 final chapter is, like I said, by far one of the best movies out of all the Jason movies. Check it out. Rent it. Stream it. Buy it. I think I got it on VHS. I do have an online copy. Well, actually, I have a DVD that I just saved on my hard drive, which I'm glad because someone decided to help themselves to borrow it and never give it back. Anyway, check it out. Go get it. It's one of those movies, like, come on now, it's Friday the 13th. You gotta watch a Friday the 13th. Even though it's Saturday the 14th, and it took me a whole 12 hours to like watch all these movies, edit this video, and put it up. Still, this is your girl, Insomniac Writer, signing out. Ready to shower, get dressed, and I hope you tune in later for my next review. So, till later, kitties. Enjoy the rest of your
Cause you can't make it anymore. I know what you're waiting for. I should turn away and walk right out that door because I know.
Hey, how come you turned that off?
death scene is memorable. Like, hey, you seen the corkscrew? Bam, bam, done. Like, it's just, come on now. The kill scenes in this movie are kind of memorable, but they're also kind of like intense. I mean, he throws the chick out the window. He stabs the one guy in the back of the head. Like, come on, Jason really was just like the random hitchhiker fat lady girl. Like, come on now. As a big girl, and if I was, first of all, I don't do hitchhikers. I'm not going to hitchhike and I'm not going to pick you up. So if you see me in my car with your thumb up, your ass out of luck. And my next review, you'll see why. Anyway, the point is that, like, with Jason in this movie, come on now, the kill scenes really, the only one that you don't see is the mom, Mrs. Jarvis. She dies, but it's never really shown or hinted at. All you do is see her walking outside and her gasping, which is pretty cool because that's something that you would expect from a movie, probably a horror movie back in the 50s or whenever. Another thing that I kind of liked about this movie was their house that they lived in. The Tommy Jarvis and his mom and sister was where they filmed that Ed Gein movie. And if you don't know who Ed Gein is, slap yourself as a horror film fan, because Ed Gein was a psychopath back in the like 40s and 50s that decided, hey, after his mom died, I'm going to dig up women's bodies and I'm going to kill women and walk around in their skin and fancy parts and be crazy and have like skull and bones and stuff. Basically, if you watch Texas Chainsaw Massacre, you'll know who Ed Gein is because they made this movie based off of this man and he was a total psycho. And he had mommy issues. And they based the movie Psycho off of him. But I'm going too far. I don't want to talk about Ed Gein. But anyway, just look it up. That's also a great film. And it's some history because now you know that there's some crazy delusion that just deranged people in this world.
Love teddy bear. L-O-V-E. Hey Ted, where's that corkscrew, that fancy corkscrew for the wine bottle? Ted? Hey! Ted! Ted! Hey, Ted, where the hell's the corkscrew?
Let's pick her up.
Sammy, where are we gonna put her?